Hello, and welcome to the Pittsburgh City Council Standing Committee meeting for February 6, 2019. My name is Chris Dotson, and with us today is John Blasco, our sign language interpreter. City Council will discuss the following legislation for the preliminary vote. Pre-agenda, appointment and/or reappointments, Bill number 2019-1333, resolution appointing Santiago Garcias as the Director of the Department of Innovation and Performance, Bill number 2019-1334, resolution appointing Alex Matthews to serve as a member of the Ethics Hearings Board for a term to expire January 31st, 2022. 2019-1335, resolution appointing Cheryl Gainey as a member of the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh with a term to expire December 31st, 2024. And Bill number 2019-1336, a resolution appointing Alexander B. LaRocco as a member of the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh with a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Finance and Law Committee, Reverend Burgess is the chair. The fair paper, Bill number 2019-1287, resolution providing for the issuance of a warrant in the total sum of $6,857.02 in favor of Diane and Ronald J. Balke, care of Barbara Price and Pierce and Associates, PC Golf Tower, 707 Grant Street, Pittsburgh, PA 15219, as a final settlement related to the action filed in the Common Pleas Court of Allegheny County. Bill number 2019-1288, a resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in the amount of $5,303.34 to Pepper Hamilton LLP, 501 Grant Street, Suite 300, Union Trust Building, Pittsburgh, PA 15219, for professional consulting and legal services in relation to False Claims Act litigation. Bill number 2019-1289, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Gleason and Associates, PC, P.O. Box 644816, Pittsburgh, PA 15264-4816, in an amount not to exceed $9,946.00 for professional services in connection with a lawsuit filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Bill number 2019-1290, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Kittleson LLC, 1008 Wood Creek Drive, College Station, Texas 77845, in the amount not to exceed $10,082.20 for professional services in connection with the lawsuit filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Bill number 2019-1305, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Tabitha Wilkmeister on her own behalf and as guardian on behalf of her minor children, and Greenwich Dion Wilson, 3517 Fleming Avenue, Pittsburgh, PA 15212, in an amount not to exceed $80,000.00 in settlement of litigation and ordered by court as described in the full and final general release and settlement agreement between the parties. Bill number 2019-1306, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Carol Katz, LLC, 6448 Melissa Street, Pittsburgh, PA, 15206, in an amount not to exceed $3,200.00 for mediation services rendered to the parties in a federal litigation case. New papers, 2019-1338, ordinance amending, supplementing, and correcting the Pittsburgh Code at Title II Fiscal, Article 1, Administrative, Chapter 219, Operating Budget, so as to add contract and bid information requirements to fiscal impact statements and to further correct numbering and formatting. Then we have the Public Works Committee. Mrs. Kell Smith is the chair. New papers, 2019-1332, resolution providing for a contract or contracts or the use of existing contracts, an agreement or agreements or the use of existing agreements, providing for the planning, design, repair, maintenance, improvements, emergencies, operations, and or the purchase of materials, equipment, and supplies in connection with the production of the complete street design guidelines and associated projects. Human Resources Committee, Mrs. Harris is the chair. We have new papers. Bill number 2019-1309, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Human Resources and Civil Service and the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance to enter into a professional service agreement and or contracts with Ceridian Human Capital Management, Inc. for a citywide time and attendance system and providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $1,720,000. Resolution, Bill number 2019-1329, resolution providing that the City of Pittsburgh enter into a professional services agreements and or contracts with UPMC Mercy in connection with the administration and evaluation of medical examinations and related tests and procedures for the Civil Service Commission's medical examination program for current and prospective employees for employment and promotion and providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $1,600,000. Bill number 2019-1330, resolution amending resolution number 363 of 2015, which authorized the City of Pittsburgh to enter into a professional services agreement with Aon Risk Services for the purpose of securing excess workers' compensation insurance coverage by increasing the cost by $24,000 for 120 additional days of service. Land Use and Economic Development Committee, Ms. Gross is the chair. Deferred papers, bill number 2018-0216, resolution submitting regulations for the implementation and enforcement of the landlord registration ordinance, i.e. City of Pittsburgh Code, City Code, Chapter 781, Residential Housing Renewal Permit Program, to the Council of the City of Pittsburgh as required by City Code subsection 781.06 and recent court order in a related active litigation matter in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County. New papers, 2019-1323, resolution amending resolution 744, effective November 9th, 2018, providing for an agreement or agreements with various community organizations for operational/administrative expenses, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities, and for administrative and operational costs, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and/or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities of various departmental programs, projects for the benefit of the residents of the city of Pittsburgh at a cost not to exceed $365,000. Bill number 2019-1324. Resolution amending resolution number 747, effective November 9th, 2018, providing for an agreement or agreements with various community organizations for operational, administrative expenses, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and/or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities, and for administrative operational costs, maintenance, purchase of equipment, and/or rehabilitation of neighborhood facilities of various departmental programs, projects for the benefit of the residents of the city of Pittsburgh at a cost not to exceed $735,000. Bill number 2019-1325, resolution amending resolution number 746, effective November 9th, 2018, resolution providing for the filing of a community development statement by the city of Pittsburgh with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for a grant in connection with the 2018 Community Development Block Grant Program, providing for the execution of grant contracts, for the filing of other data, providing for required assurances, providing for execution of payment vouchers on letter of credit, and for certification of authorized signature, the deposit of the funds in the bank account, and providing for the payment of the expenses within categories. Bill number 2019-1326. Ordinance accepting a new street name, Legacy Way, in the 22nd Ward of the City of Pittsburgh as per recommendations by the City of Pittsburgh, addressing Committee CPAC. The following street name was approved by the CPAC in 2012. The name listed in the ordinance shall be made official in accordance with the Pittsburgh Code, Title IV, Public Places and Property, Chapter 420, Uniform Street Naming and Addressing. Bill number 2019-1327. Resolution accepting a new street name, Carlo Drive, in the 4th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, as per recommendation by the City of Pittsburgh Addressing Committee, CPAC. The following street name was approved by CPAC in July 2018. The name listed in this ordinance shall be made official in accordance with the Pittsburgh Code, Title IV, Public Places and Property, Chapter 420, Uniform Naming and Addressing. Bill number 2019-1328. Resolution accepting a new street name, Ursuline Drive, in the 8th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh as per recommendation by the City of Pittsburgh Addressing Committee, CPAC. The following street name was approved by CPAC in July 2018. The name listed in this ordinance shall be made official in accordance with the Pittsburgh Code, Title IV, Public Places and Property, Chapter 420, Uniform Street and Naming. Intergovernmental Affairs Committee, Mr. O'Connor is the chair. Deferred paper, Bill number 2019-1311. Resolution adopting the plan revision to the City of Pittsburgh's official sewage facilities plan for the Pittsburgh Produce Terminal redevelopment project. The existing building will be converted from produce warehouse office space into a combination retail, restaurant, entertainment, and office center. The parking lot to the rear will be updated to current standards. The site is located on the north side of Smallman Street between 16th and 21st Streets in the Second Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, 15222. New papers. Bill number 2019-1331. Resolution amending resolution number 191, effective March 19th, 2018, entitled Resolution Providing for the Execution of a Cooperation Agreement or Agreements with the Urban Redevelopment Authority of Pittsburgh for the administration of certain projects and programs, and providing for the payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $3,286,320.00 by including an additional economic development and housing initiative, the line item for an amount not to exceed $54,000, and the total cost thereof by the same amount not to exceed $3,340,320.00. Now, this concludes the reading for February 6, 2019. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this pre-agenda item for today, Wednesday, February 6th, 2019. We have 4 appointments today for consideration. Before I begin, though, I would like to ask if we could just have a brief moment of silence. Some of you that are following the news this morning probably have heard that we had a fire at the Carson Towers over the night. It was limited to 1 unit, but there was a fatality in the fire, a woman named Teresa Walker. I know that everybody in the building is overwhelmed with grief and sadness right now. I just want to recognize that this tragedy happened, and we'll come to terms with our grief in the coming days. So thank you for that. With that, Madam Clerk, we have here Alex Matthews, who is a nominee to the Ethics Hearing Board. And if we may then please have the purpose of Bill 1334, Madam Clerk.
Bill 1334, resolution appointing Alex Matthews to serve as a member of the Ethics Hearing Board for a term to expire January 31st, 2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So we kind of keep these rather casual. I'd just really like to ask if you just sort of introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background, about your willingness to serve on our Ethics Hearing Board, and if members come and have questions, we'll offer them up to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Alex Matthews. I am a lifelong resident of the city of Pittsburgh, have been asked many times to move out of the city for other opportunities, and decided not to because I love this city, and I think the city is a place where families can grow and do well here. I've served also 12 years on the city school board as a board member, serving as its president for 3 of those years. And one of my strongest appeals to people, to elected officials, particularly at that time board members, is that we have to demonstrate a commitment to have certain ethics about what we do in the code of conduct, because people are watching us and we need to hold their trust. And so when I was given the opportunity to apply for this position, I readily applied because I truly believe in the fact that we have to continue to build trust in our community. I have,
I'm sorry, no, I thought you had just
no.
paused there.
So I do have 3 wonderful kids. One who is in Kansas City, one is at Penn State, and one is a junior at Tulare Academy. So we truly believe in city government.
Very much. I have your resume in front of me here, Alex, and it is really impressive. People think that we have a difficult job here in City Council, and at times we do. But my hat is off to anyone who chooses to join the school board. This is a totally volunteer position, and I can't think of a more important role that one can play other than to guide the education of our children. And for that, I commend you and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So with that, I have no further questions. There's no members here. So with that, we'll conclude your interview. And Alex, thanks for being here this morning.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Santiago. Good morning. I apologize for my faux pas earlier. You're okay. Mornings are not my strong point. I was up this morning at 5:30. Because I get up that early, you would think I would be sufficiently caffeinated to perform my duties, but it takes a while for that to kick in. So I apologize for earlier, but welcome, Santiago. It's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to begin with the clerk reading your appointment, which is Bill 1333.
Bill 1333, resolution appointing Santiago Garces as the Director of the Department of Innovation and Performance.
Okay, Santiago, good morning and welcome. Again, we'll keep this fairly casual. I know you have made the rounds already. You've met with every member and have had pre-interviews, and the feedback that I get from members is all very, very largely positive, and are very excited about having you take over the leadership of our Department of Innovation and Performance. We all understand the importance of technology in the digital age in which we're living in and how it impacts and affects our ability to serve the constituency that we're elected to serve. So with that, if you would take a moment to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what you bring to the position, and we'll be happy to offer up some questions and comments afterwards.
So I'm Santiago Garces. I have been previously the Chief Innovation Officer in the city of South Bend for the past 4 or 5 years. I am excited about taking the position of Director of the Department of Innovation and Performance. I think that there's a lot of great work that the department has done in the past, but I also acknowledge, based on our conversations with the members and with other people, that there's a lot of work to be done, especially as we articulate the value that technology brings to the city. Anytime that there's a crime, that information goes into a computer system. Every time that we make a purchase, that information goes into a computer system. All of our payrolls. So there's all of this critical information that is kind of the lifeblood of how the city does its business. And when it works well, it means that the work of the city is more efficient and is more cost-effective and more transparent and more responsive. And my goal is to help address some of the challenges that become aware of and try to make sure that we're delivering on the promise of having reliable and value-adding services for the departments and for our residents.
So listening to your comments, the word that came to mind for me, in addition to what you offered, is responsibility. We have a real responsibility to be the very best that we can be in this digital age that we live in, and how quickly everything comes to our attention, and how there's a created expectancy, that's the way to say that, from constituency, that we can respond quickly, and not just quickly, but accurately, and in their best interest. And so I'd just like to offer up, first and foremost, I believe we have a responsibility in this age to deliver top-notch digital services to constituency, and whether that's our city website and what that looks like and how easily we can disseminate information and make certain that it is accurate and helpful, easy to access, and at the same time keeping in mind that not everybody is connected on a digital platform, and for those that are not connected on a digital platform, how we then tailor our services to make certain that we are engaging that constituency and serving them to the highest and best order.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that the same principles that you're talking, that we want to extend to our residents, we also want to extend to our city employees, and making sure that when they're out doing their jobs, that they have the right equipment and the right information at hand so that they can do their job safely and efficiently.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And now I'm kind of embarrassed I didn't bring that up as well, too, but it's an incredibly important component. 3,300 employees, give or take, something along those lines in the city, and every one of us is connected in some way, shape, or form to a digital platform, and it's imperative that we have an efficient and effective system to help each and every one of our employees to do the jobs they need to do. I almost resisted the opportunity to go into a little bit about what the council members and their staffs face on a daily basis. A lot of our technology is clearly outdated. I know we are set for a reboot and some new computers and new connectivity, and we'll change to the Windows 10 platform over this coming year and those kinds of things. And it is really, really welcome. There's not a day that goes by that I don't get some comment in some way, shape, or form from a council staffer as to a level of frustration dealing with the tools at hand and how easily things lock up and freeze up and crash, and it limits their ability to provide effective constituent services, which really is the backbone of every council office.
Yes, and I also believe that when we have equipment that is past its end of life and equipment that is kind of deprecated, you also see that the total cost of maintaining that equipment goes up. So we end up spending a lot of resources fixing as opposed to being proactive. And obviously, every time that someone tries to use a computer and it doesn't work the way that they expected, they are unable to do their job, and that's a problem. So again, my goal, working with the rest of my peers in the administration and with the council and with the clerk, is to be able to figure out new ways in which we can provide reliable services. But some of these things we need to, even from the way that we budget, the way that we deploy and we deliver these services, the way that we listen to the actual needs of our users, are things that we'll spend a lot of time focusing and making sure that IMP is delivering those promises.
Yeah, and we have a responsibility, again, in making certain that you can do what you need to do, and that comes down to the budget and budget time and how we select to distribute our resources. And so I ask you in all sincerity to please keep us abreast throughout the year as to the limitations that the department suffers because of the lack of resources. And you won't be alone in that. There'll be every department in the city asking us for that same kind of consideration. But I want to be as helpful as we possibly can be in helping you to be an effective and productive leader within the Department of Innovation and Performance. Thank you. Thanks very much for being with us this morning. No other members here, so for that, this will conclude your interview. We do have two other appointees that were invited this morning. They're not here yet. I think we can recess for the time being. If they should come, we'll take them at that time. Okay? Okay. Thank you, Santiago, very, very much. Pleasure this morning, and for that, we're adjourned. Okay, so good morning again, and welcome to this thank you, good morning. Welcome to this reconvened pre-agenda item for today, Wednesday, February the 6th, 2019. We have two additional appointments that are under consideration. That is Cheryl Gaines. Gainey, yeah, so it's misspelled on there. That's what I thought. So Cheryl Gainey, and we have Alexander LaRocco, who are both being appointed to the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. So if I may, Madam Clerk, have the purpose of Bills 1335 and 1336.
Bill 1335, resolution appointing Cheryl Gainey as the member of the Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh with a term to expire December 31st, 2024. Bill 1336, resolution appointing Alexander LaRocco as a member of the Housing Authority of the City with a term to expire December 31st, 2024.
Okay, thanks, Madam Clerk. Good morning. Cheryl, may I take you first?
Yes.
Okay, and Alex, is it Alex okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I'm going to call you Alex then. And we're going to keep these very casual. I want you to be comfortable. We're just going to ask you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourselves, your desire to serve on the Housing Authority Board, and I may have a question or two when you've concluded. So with that, Ms. Gainey, would you begin?
Okay, yeah. My name is Cheryl Gainey. I live at in Allegheny dwelling at 1730 Bellevue Drive. I've been the tenant council president for about 9 years right now, which I enjoy. I enjoy helping along with the young people these days. We need to, get them educated about how to process life and how to do things, and to try to make our community a better place to live. And I have two sons. One is a police officer, another one works for the city, but don't live here in Pittsburgh. They live in Buffalo, New York, and I'm just so overwhelmed and enjoy to try to do what I can, not to overdo things, but to help people, because I think that helping and volunteering is one of the most important things that we need to have. And if we can get them two things together, I think that we would be okay in lots of things. But like I said, my goal is to try to get the young men and women educated, and to see about our youth and our children, to make sure that they have the right things, goals in life, and to to help them get along so they won't be mistreated or anything. See, about my community, I want my community to strive a whole lot. So I really do, and that's my point. My point is education.
You have a wonderful
Thank you.
spirit, Ms. Gainey, and it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
It is not easy for people to step up
No, it's not.
and to volunteer.
No,
And,
it's not.
we like to describe opportunities for people to live, work, and play within the city.
Right.
But I always like to add live, work, play, and volunteer
Right.
within the city,
Right.
because we are our community, and it's the efforts that we put
Mm-hmm.
forward to make our communities better is what leads to the benefit or the payoff in
Right.
that. So you have a delightful spirit.
Yeah, I think that
I'm honored to have
volunteer-
you here.
Yeah, I do. I think volunteering is very, very one part that everybody should give back, because you receive a lot, but we don't ever give nothing back. And volunteer is one of the main goals that we need.
We do. I couldn't agree with you more. And in being a tenant council president
Oh, yeah. it is.
for
You
9
like-
years,
Yeah.
I imagine it is sometimes thankless
It is.
job, but I also suspect that it is richly rewarding.
It is. It is.
and-
I haven't had, it's your tone of voice. If a person gets smart with you, you don't get back smart with them. You let them say what they have to say, and sooner or later they will calm down. I had lots of success in Allegheny dwelling with the young ones when I was living on Sandusky first, and I had a crowd, a big meeting, and I didn't have no trouble with no one. Like I said, if people try to get smart with you, you just sit there and let it go, let them go get their frustration off, and sooner or later they'll calm down, and you'll be able to talk to them, and then they'll come back on the ball, apologize to you, say, I'm sorry for what I said to you.
So I can't resist sharing this. And some people watching this will get a kick out of this, because I say this often, but it's one of the best things I've ever learned in life. And it goes like this: the common denominator in all of my relationships is me.
Yes.
Now I have a role and a responsibility in every relationship that I have.
You do. Well, when you have to carry yourself as a leader, you can't fall back into what they are doing. So if you carry yourself up right, like I said, if you let them get their frustration off and let them calm down, then you'll be able to deal with a lot of things. But like I said, I love volunteering. I love being tenant council, and I carry myself where I won't be disrespectful. Say, well, you know what? She's not doing what she's supposed to do. So I make sure that I'm well disrespecting them, respecting them. I don't want no foul language. I don't believe into that, and I don't want to be, well, I seen you here and I seen you there. No, you carry yourself like you're supposed to, and you won't have too much of a problem being a community leader.
We lead by example.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
we
I have
do.
done that. I made sure that, like when I raised my sons, I made sure that they got their education. I made sure that they didn't sell drugs. I made sure that they didn't do anything to go to jail. So I followed the path that I led them through. I want to lead somebody else through. Even if it's just one or two people, you can't save the whole world. But if you can save some, and that's why I'm in the education, because I made sure that they got an education, high school and college degrees. So I make sure they got an education. That's what I think that education will get people a long way in life. and that's my goal, education.
Thanks for being here.
Okay, thank
Thank you. Pleasure. I'd like the record to reflect that we're joined by Councilwoman Strasburger. Councilwoman, we have concluded 1333 and 34. We're on bills 35 and 36. And next, Alex, we're going to go to you. Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Alexander LaRocco. I am a Gulf War veteran, an elected judge of election, Ward 20, District 6. Like so many here in Pittsburgh, a transplant and now a proud resident of the city. I am honored to be here this morning. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous.
You're amongst friends. It's okay.
In front of you, honorable council members, being nominated for a seat in the Housing Authority Board is both an honor and a privilege. It's an honor because you don't get this opportunity every day, and a privilege because, like being in the military service, it's a privilege to serve this great country and the city. Pittsburgh has been attracting lots of transplant like myself. And in order to cope with the new migration, the city has to be prepared for it. Let us not forget the longtime residents, the blue-collar workers that built this city, but most especially our low-income, long-time residents, the elderly, the disabled residents of this great city. That is why I support very much Housing Authority home ownership program. Sorry, I'm just being emotional.
That's Alex. I'm overwhelmed at your authenticity. Thank you.
That is why I support very much Housing Authority home ownership program for low-income residents and the mayor's executive order on affordable housing. In order to achieve this, it takes a lot of dedication and team effort for the developers, the city, and its residents. If I get the privilege to sit on the board, it'll be a part of a diverse group. That's right. We need more diversity, and Pittsburgh's population is slowly becoming more diverse. Together with the members of the board, I hope to be a part of creating an environment that improves the quality of life for HACP customers, providing safe, affordable housing, and to the city of Pittsburgh that I now call my home. Thank you.
Well, thank you. What an honor it is to have you here, Alex. I can't express our gratitude for your years of service,
Thank you.
military and non-military, and what a big heart you bring to public service. And it's an honor to have you here, and it's an honor to share this time with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilwoman, would you like to offer up some questions or comments for our guests?
I don't have any questions. I just want to say I applaud you both. And Ms. Gainey, I apologize for missing your initial presentation, but I did catch the tail end, and it's clear that you're a dedicated public servant, even prior to this nomination. And I want to thank you both for your willingness to serve, because get closer so others can hear me. Because it will take time from your schedule, and it will take significant time and energy and collaboration and a willingness to work with others to bring the wishes of the authority to fruition. So thank you in advance for your service to the city. I really appreciate it, and for being here today. And I just want to apologize for being late. I had a 9 a.m. meeting that went long. So.
No, thank you, Councilwoman. Thanks for being here. I would. I'm always amazed at the quality of the candidate that comes to this table to serve on our different boards, authorities, and commissions. And as the councilwoman said, it takes dedication and time and commitment and probably a little bit of frustration at times to do it, but in a spirit of collaboration and cooperation, we work together, and together we accomplish great things. So I personally cannot think of any two finer candidates to come before this table and to be selected to serve on the Housing Authority Board for the City of Pittsburgh.
Thank you.
Thank you. My honor. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
So, Councilwoman, with that, if may I have a motion to adjourn this pre-agenda item?
Motion to adjourn.
And we are.
Good morning and welcome to Pittsburgh City Council Standing Committee meeting of Wednesday, February 6, 2019. Our first order of, did we have public comment already? No.
No, we did not.
Okay, our first order of business is public comment. Those members of the public that want to address council, you'll be giving 3 minutes. The green light means that your time has begun. Yellow light means you have 1 minute to summarize. Red light means your time has expired. Please relinquish the podium. I will remind everyone that the rules of council state that comment is limited to matters which are or may be before council. Profanity will not be permitted and order will be maintained at all times. First speaker, please. First speaker, please.
Okay, I just walked in, but my name is Yvonne F. Brown. And I was listening to KDKA. I heard Marty Griffin. My radio is not, doesn't get the real good, clear perception, but it sounds like he's having problems with his throat. I had found out when he had cancer. I had called in and it said to tell Marty to drink some raw vegetable or fruit juices. I started some years ago the juice program, just using innovative community empowerment, teaching children, tried to go into the school to teach them about the juicing. Also about how we as black people, we overcook our food. And that is one of the main reasons. So you see us with these big guts, that's full of mess. Carrot juice, I believe, would I know it will coat the throat, because I had a friend that had an ulcer. It coats the throat, but also it's a cleanser. So it will help clean out you. I wanted to say also to Chris Moore, I did a little thing for Chris. I didn't get a chance to finish it, but for Chris, also you look at it, have your wife to make you carrot juice or either go to Whole Foods. Because sometimes we as black people don't know it, but you can go out to Whole Foods and they don't have carrot juice in the morning. So it means that they're buying it, and why aren't we? As black people, we're not taught. Okay, I wanted to say about yesterday. It was my grandbaby's birthday. And Mr. Krause, I go to you because you don't have children, and maybe you don't understand how children are. But we walked past, and all these homeless men were out there. So we came past, they're saying, hi, baby, hi, baby. And I said, it's her birthday. They all, you see this smile, hey, baby, baby. And even one, I could hear change. He's digging in his pocket, trying to give her some money. I said, no, sir, that's fine. See, Mr. Krause, if homeless people can show some two babies love, you, as the president of city council for the city of Pittsburgh, you're gonna do it. I will make you, like I said, if I have to sue you, but don't disrespect. They're our future, you understand that? These two babies are our future, and I'm teaching them right to respect the police, because they like the police, but you had them chase me out of here. You took my time away, and when I was confused. This is one time I was not hollering or arguing, and I'm saying, what happened? You have your clerk, which he needs, you got to tell him. He said, no, you know the 3 minutes your children is included, and it's never been in 20 years. See, these babies' minds, these are my grandbabies, and I'm trying to put them in a way that they can fight for what they want, but in a way that it'll be decent to everyone. Thank you. You have a nice day.
Next speaker, please.
Dr. Ronald N. Miller, Bells Hoover in Lawrenceville, American Mathematical Society member. Dr. Euphemia Janes, Mr. Lavelle, Mr. Burgess, first black woman to get a PhD in mathematics in the United States. I'm the Global Intelligence Society candidate for president 2020. Some say that's incredible, but what is not non-credible is my reputation for reporting here. So one criterion is, in fact, that. And after more than 400 presentations before City Council during public comment, 1,200 pages, 1,200 minutes, more than 20 recorded hours, my error rate is 0.001%. That's about 10,000 times what the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette offers. Mr. Peduto's 99%. After last night, Mr. Trump is clearly not that. A concern of this council is to raise the level of information and intelligence. Pittsburgh district representatives, ignorant or informed, what is the mathematical function? What is a mapping? Ignorant, informed, regarding the work of English mathematician M. Cartwright, 1900 to 1998. Dr. Mary Cartwright, PhD, University of Oxford, head of Girton College, University of Cambridge in the 1950s. Cartwright's theorem is one that analyzed what happens to the variables affecting the functional and mapping relationships between entities A and B and C as the variables approach 0 and infinity. A function. If B is 2A, B is a function of A, f of A. 20 is 2 times 10, so 20 is a function of 10. F of 10 is 20. Is any set of masculine gender characteristics, uppercase M, a function of the genetic sex XY of an individual male, lowercase m? In other words, is the function of lowercase m equal to the uppercase m? Now, this is my approach, one of my approaches to sex and gender identity formation. And I'm asking this council and citizens to consider this. It's part of the published work and revised work that I've done on gender formation, and I offer it to this council and to others for your reference.
Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Seeing no other speakers, we will go into the roll call. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill. Here. Mrs. Gross. Mrs. Harris. Here. President Kraus.
Here.
Mr. Lavelle. Mr. O'Connor. Here. Mrs. Kell Smith. Mrs. Strasburger.
Here.
And Reverend Burgess.
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you very much. Our
Reverend,
first.
I just want to apologize for being late. I never am, and I really wanted to interview. But they had a truck that just jackknifed, and they blocked the whole way up here, so I had to go to Oakland and back in through the traffic. So, thank you.
But you actually have no reason to apologize.
Well,
we know that you're the hardest working person in council. And so, with that, we will go to Finance and Law Committee, of which I am the chair. We have a number of deferred papers. The clerk can read them all together, please.
Bill 1287, resolution providing for the issuance of a warrant in the total sum of $6,857.02 in favor of Diane and Ronald J. Balky as final settlement related to the action filed in the Common Pleas Court of Allegheny County. Bill number 1288, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in the amount of $5,303.34 to Pepper Hamilton LLP for professional consulting and legal services in relation to False Claim Act litigation. Bill number 1289, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Gleason and Associate in an amount not to exceed $9,946 for professional services in connection with a lawsuit filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Bill number 1290, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Kittleson LLC in an amount not to exceed $10,082.20 for professional services in connection with a lawsuit filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. Bill number 1305, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Tabitha Workmeister on her own behalf and as guardian on behalf of her minor children in an amount not to exceed $80,000 in settlement of litigation as ordered by the court as described in the full and final general release and settlement agreement between the parties. Bill number 1306, resolution authorizing the issuing of a warrant in favor of Carol Katz in an amount not to exceed $3,200 for mediation services rendered to the parties in a federal litigation case.
I need a motion.
Motion.
Need a
Second.
second. Any conversation? No conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Takes us to new papers. We have a new paper.
Bill number 1338, ordinance amending, supplementing, and correcting the Pittsburgh Code at Title II, Fiscal Article 1 Administrative Operating Budget so as to add contract and bid information requirements to fiscal impact statements and to further correct numbering and formatting.
Need a motion. Need a second. Any conversation? No conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposers, nay. All right, we have invoices on the table. Yes.
Second.
Questions about the invoices? No questions about the invoices. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposers, nay. I don't, we have P cards. Do we have,
Yes, no interdepartment.
we don't have any.
No interdepartment.
No interdepartment. Okay. P cards are on the table. I need a motion for the P cards.
Motion to approve.
Need a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. That takes us, I believe, to page 6 on the agenda. Public Works Committee. Ms. Kell Smith is the chair. We have a new paper.
Bill 1332, resolution providing for a contract and/or agreements, providing for the planning, design, repairs, maintenance, improvements, emergencies, operations, and/or the purchase of materials, equipment, and supplies in connection with the production of the Complete Streets Design Guidelines and associated projects.
Need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Need a second. Any conversation? No conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. That takes us to Human Resources Committee, where Mrs. Harris is the chair. We have a new paper.
Bill 1309, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Human Resources and Civil Service and the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance to enter into a professional services agreement and/or contract with Ceridian Human Capital Management, Inc. for a citywide time and attendance system and providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $1,720,000.
Need a motion, Ms. Harris.
Motion to approve.
Need a second.
Discussion.
Ms. Harris.
This, the next one is the UPMC, correct? Yes, ma'am. Okay. And none of these other ones have to do with that. We did those at another time. Just checking. Okay.
All right. Do you want to talk to us about what this first bill is about?
Yes, Janet Manuel, Director of Human Resources and Civil Service.
Santiago Garza is the candidate director or the now director, acting director of the Department of Innovation and Performance.
Sylvia Harris, Assistant Director of Operations, Department of Innovation and Performance.
And so this respective resolution is in regards to asking approval from City Council for approval for us to go into an agreement for a professional service agreement with Ceridian Human Capital Management. The City of Pittsburgh's current time system will expire December of 2019. And so, in partnership with the IMP Department, HRCS, submitted an RFP, and so we sourced various providers who we believe will be able to provide the best capability for us to track time that our City of Pittsburgh employees work, and by having to track the best time ensures that their time reported will in turn result into them having an accurate paycheck disseminated. And so there were at least 11 individuals that were processed in the RFP, and then we've narrowed it down to the final candidates, and of course the selected candidate is Ceridian. And so some of you may be aware that we do have a past history with Ceridian, which is a very good thing. And so with them not only having a very decent, affordable price for a time clock system citywide, as well as their ability to meet our needs and also have the capability to communicate with our current system of J.D. Edwards. So J.D. Edwards is the system that will be able to still make the check. So Ceridian will track all of the time worked for employees, and then that system will be able to speak and coordinate with J.D. Edwards, which will actually create and disseminate the respective time paycheck for all city employees. The key process in this is to make sure that we have accuracy for all time. Currently, it's done manually, and so there will be various mechanisms that can be utilized by employees, and it is up to the discretion of each department director to choose that mechanism. The key thing that we want to make sure that City Council is aware of is that if the time that is reported by this new time system, it definitely will help disseminate an accurate paycheck for all City of Pittsburgh employees. So again, that is why we are seated before you. This is a 5-year contract, and I know that it's over $1 million, but if you divide it by the respective 5 years, it lessens that per year.
And if I may supplement the Director Manuel's comments, which are on point, there's two principal components of the system that we're getting from Ceridian. One is the timekeeping module. That is the module that allows employees to report their time worked, and that then goes and calculates based on the different bargaining agreements the appropriate corresponding pay. And then the second piece of the system is the payroll system. That is the system that we're replacing that we currently have. So that is the system that gets all of the information, which right now is manually typed in, and generates the records for J.D. Edwards to generate the pay. So there's a timeline that's critical on the upgrading the payroll system, because the current payroll system that we use with Ceridian is going end of life by the end of the year. And the second piece, which is the timekeeping module, that's new functionality that the city has not been using in the past. And I know that there's been a lot of conversations between the directors and council and other people about that particular piece.
You have the table, Ms. Harris.
Thank you. This is for 4 years, correct?
It's 5 years.
Okay. And each year we're putting in with council's approval, correct?
Yes, that is how it's written in the document. You are correct.
Okay. And with the timekeeping,
The timekeeping?
this system will be talked about to each union, correct?
Yes, ma'am. So there will be, of course, we're not able to tell the unions what, to utilize it. We are going to definitely encourage them, because the key thing that we're emphasizing is the accuracy of the paychecks. And so there are different various mechanisms that can be utilized for people to track their respective time. But you are correct, Councilwoman.
Okay. So supervisors and people that are on a salary, I expect that there will not be any charged hours by those people. They get a salary, and that's it. They don't get paid extra money, and they don't get more time to take off, like 52 days a year.
Yeah, typically what is done, Director Manuel can jump in as well. What is done is salaried employees get their salary.
Right.
The timekeeping function allows employees to track sick days, or if they've used comp time or vacation or personal time. So it just helps automate that process of getting the information of how they're using some of those other benefits, so that the clerks don't have to be typing that information to the payroll system. And then with employees that are hourly, typically, again, my previous experience with these types of systems, they're the ones that you have functions to clock in and clock out. And
So you'll be able to tell if any salaried employees try to get extra time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you'll talk to the unions. What other question did I have? It's going to be a 5-year program. Each year comes to council, and I can't think of what the other one was. So,
Okay.
Good.
yes.
Thank you very much, Mr.
And,
Farmer.
I know what it was, Rev. the mayor's office and council can do how they've been doing
You are
with
correct.
their time cards.
If your choice is to continue to utilize the paper timesheets, then that is your respective choice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Connor.
Sorry, wait, we're having a sidebar here. So we're paying $1.7 million, and you could still use the paperless, or the wire, the paperless. You could still use paper.
We are, Councilman O'Connor, we are allowing all options for each respective department director to decide. We are hoping that people will utilize the automated system because that is more advantageous. It will lessen the errors. It will definitely ensure more accuracy for the paycheck. But we're just making it clear that that is an option. We do strongly encourage people to utilize the automated system from an accuracy standpoint.
So on the automated, let's just take me through this. So if I walk in, do I go online and punch, okay, now I started? How are you going to track that? Or do I just, instead of filling out my card, I just fill it out online?
Right, you have the capability to utilize, such as your computer, so when you...
Staff, yeah, we don't, I get we don't. I'm saying,
Right,
you know,
your
if
staff.
I work for PLI and I pick up a car and I'm driving to, you know, some neighborhood to inspect,
Yes.
I punch in somewhere.
So there's several aspects, and that's the beauty of this system. There's multiple ways to capture the time work. One is you can log on to the respective computer system. You have the ability to utilize the smartphone. That is another capability. Also, a card swipe is another aspect. So there's various mechanisms that can be utilized to capture the time worked for each respective
Are we
employee.
seeing like this being a problem, that it's costing us money?
So typically, and again,
I know you just got here, yeah,
job,
that's
so
fine, yeah.
I don't have the full insight into the analysis that is done. But typically, and just to clarify a little bit of the dollar amount as well, typically these types of implementations, these types of expenditures, the total dollar amount, there's a licensing component, which is paying for the
I get
software.
that, yeah.
And then the bulk of the cost is professional services to get the system implemented. So that's a one-time fee that we pay once the system's up and running.
But
we only have to pay the
ultimately,
maintenance fees.
we're paying, and still nobody has to use this.
Yes. So let me. So I just wanted to
explain that.
Yes.
'cause
Yes.
if
So,
I'm spending $1.7 million and
Yeah.
nobody's going to use it, why are we even doing
yeah.
it?
No. And I think that there's some great points. There's some great points there. Typically, the value of a payroll system, and again, there's the timekeeping part, and then there's the payroll side of things. Having an automated payroll system allows you to catch errors of people that were no longer working for the city and get paid. And employers that don't use electronic payroll systems tend to end up paying higher liabilities of like ghost employment and all sorts of things. And that's one of the sources of savings that you get from having an automated system. The second piece that you get benefit from is reducing so you're freeing clerical people's time that right now is being spent manually entering information back and
Right.
forth.
But we're not, because not everybody has to do it.
So I can talk about what the
Yeah,
best
I
practices
get
is.
the digital best
and-
practice.
Yes.
But we're still not ultimately implementing it. So, like, if it's mandatory that, okay, next month we all have to do it, that makes sense to me. But some people are going to do it, some aren't. So,
And so let me just provide additional clarification. And so the question from Councilwoman Harris was in regards to the respective unions. And so we all know that we cannot force them to do anything. We are going to have a very healthy conversation with them, just as we are with other respective departments in the city, and strongly encourage them to utilize the online mechanism versus the current process of the paper. And so, no, we do not want to utilize the word mandate, because that really puts people off, so to speak. The key thing that we're encouraging is for everyone to utilize the online mechanism, whether it's logging in through the computer, whether it's utilizing a new card swipe or the respective smartphone, because that is going to track the time worked more accurately and more efficiently, which will, in result, to a more accurate paycheck. So I understand your concern,
Yeah.
Councilman, of if we're going to pay this amount of money, why are we still leaving that as an option on the table? And it's more so because we don't want, from the unions to say you cannot force us, but that still will allow us the opportunity to speak with them and help them see the benefits of utilizing it
So
from an online
would it be better off to
standpoint.
do that and then come back and do this?
Yes, that's what I think too.
What's the
I'm not saying that you're not right, that digital is the answer and it saves us time. But what I'm saying is, why not find out who's actually going to do this and then come back to us and ask for the funds?
Well, when you look at the time frame that we're up against with our current
Yeah,
system.
sorry,
that
I don't know the time frame. So
The current time
It ends
system
December?
will be expiring this year.
Okay.
So when you have to take into account, into consideration, the time frame of working with the current system as well as with the new system. And there's what is known as an opportunity that the city will be doing is processing it on both systems to make sure that we have everything finalized and that there's not that many errors. So when it is time for us to go live in January of 2020, all of those kinks, all of those issues will have already been worked out.
Okay.
And to clarify as well, the piece that is going end of life where there's a deadline, which is the end of this year, is for the payroll side of things. So it's not for the full scope of the implementation. The full scope of the implementation also includes the timekeeping piece, which seems to be the one that there's more concerns about. So from our standpoint, making sure that we have the opportunity of starting the project to replace the payroll system is the part that's critical. Just pointing that out, the timekeeping piece, I hear your concerns, I think.
Right, yeah, no, and I know you just started, or starting, whatever it is. Okay, so could you possibly, I'll abstain, because, again, unless other people are going to do this, it seems kind of a waste of time, but I understand the need to go digital. I agree with that. But if we're not mandating it, I don't know the point. But if you could just give me the timeline, so December, what that timeline might be.
Sure.
And if there's a chance to meet with departments within a month and see who's going to sign up and who's not, that would be helpful to council to say, okay, half the city's going to do it right away, the other half will come on later. Just if you could get that to us, that would be helpful.
Okay.
I'll let everybody else ask questions.
Well, first, I'd like to welcome Santiago, to Pittsburgh, fresh out of Indiana, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
So, do we have inaccuracies in our payrolls?
Unfortunately, we do, inaccuracies due to the fact that it is done manually. And so, for example, there could be an employee that have completed their respective timesheet and then realized that they did not actually input all of their hours worked, but we had already processed the respective payroll for that time period, and therefore we have to go back and then give them that back pay for the times that they did work that was not accurately reported.
Right.
So when you're looking at this respective system, and I respect what Councilman O'Connor is stating, I do not want to sit here at the table and say mandate, but if that's going to help me get the answer of yes, then I will say the word mandate. But I'm looking at it more so for the non-union employees because I have to be respectful of the union employees. That is a conversation that has already started, and we just need to continue it. I am very confident that they will see the benefit of having this system. But for now, those that we are looking to utilize this process for is for our non-union. That is who we start with. And then we continue to have that conversation with union. But let me go back to your question again, Councilman Coghill. It is unfortunate that we have some errors, but I believe those errors can be eliminated. I'm not saying that we'll always be error-free, but we will definitely have major less errors than what we currently have today due to the manual process. The sheets are turned into the supervisors reviewing and approving, and then they're given to the timekeeper to data entry. And so there are people who are not intentionally data entering incorrect time. I want that to be clear. But when you have such a high volume that we have to process on a biweekly basis for payroll, it does leave room for error. And when it's manual, there's even more room for error. But when it's online and you have the ability for the supervisor to look at it within the system and then do the click of the button, and plus it will also allow us a little bit more leniency before payroll is processed for us to review that even more thorough than what we're
So
currently
I'm kind of
doing today.
old-fashioned, okay, as far as technology goes, and you know, it boggles my mind what we spend in information and technology. I mean, is it $17 million a year? Is somebody
I
have
believe
a
it's more
figure
like
on
12 million. No, we have
yeah.
$12 million at least in the IMP budget. I don't know what the expenditure outside of the IMP budget it is.
And Santiago, you and I were talking at my office about this. You know, I mean, technology today is in 5 years, there's going to be a newer and a bigger system, and we have to have it. And, you know, so it's going to continue to rise the cost. I keep hearing how technology saves money, but to me, it seems like it costs more money. So I guess I just want to say this, and I'll give you a prime example, Director. Okay, so the computer, the laptops that you see in front of Mr. Lavelle and Ms. Strasburger, okay? That was to make us more efficient and save paper, and, you know, we were going to be greener and everything else, right? So you're batting about 20% here as far as that transformation went. For me, you know, it may be a lot of advantages to it, but for me, I know what I know. It's hard to, what I'm trying to say is it's hard to teach an old dog, what is it? Hard to teach a old dog new tricks, right? So when you implement this, like Mr. O'Connor says, you know, if you're going to give them the choice, there's going to be a lot of people out there like me too that say, you know what I know, this is easier. So is it a complicated process to figure out for somebody whose computer?
No, it is not.
Right,
And you
right,
won't
yeah.
have to.
And if I can answer a little
Yeah.
bit about the expenditures in technology, like technology is an investment, and typically an organization that of this size would have already an electronic timekeeping system, and it'd have an electronic payroll system, these types of things. And the reason why most organizations would do this is that it is more cost effective. These organizations typically have less clerical staff, and if you think about what is the biggest liability that the city has is pensions and growing cost of healthcare and all these things. So in the means that you're able to leverage computing to be able to support some of this work, that's typically why organizations this size are investing in these things. The other piece is the ability of controlling the risk of running the organization. So in my previous position, the school system actually ended up having to pay, I think it was over $400,000 or $1 million out to teachers that were getting underpaid. Why? Because they didn't have an electronic system that was able to control these things. So,
And once you paid them, you did not get that money back.
yeah, you don't get that money back. It goes out the door because
let me
there's
ask you
increased
this,
liability.
Is there a price tag on what we pay per year to do what this system will do as to what it costs us now?
So, again, this is why I wanted to highlight that there's two parts of the cost. There's a one-time fee, which is the implementation fee.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, large systems like this, you don't replace very often because they're very expensive, and we know that we have competing priorities for the taxpayers' dollars. But so this is not what you're going to be paying in perpetuity. In perpetuity, you're just going to be paying the licensing fees, and then whatever support we get from the system.
But you know, Santiago, what I'm asking is, what typically do we even know what it costs us to do this in clerical, you know, people actually manually typing, and, you know, do we have a price tag on that or not? Oh, do we? Yeah, so where are we at now?
If I may.
Sure.
As part of the process, I'm sorry, my name is Gwendolyn Moore, and I'm the client
Can
system.
you move the mic up towards you?
Here, why not?
Thank you. My name is Gwendolyn Moore, and I'm the client services manager in IMP. And when we began this process, we determined that we would have to map out the processes that were used to develop our payroll, to collect our timekeeping, do scheduling, develop our payroll, which is what we wanted to address initially. We met with each of the timekeepers in each of the departments. We mapped out all of their processes. What we did was we The exceptions were all the public safety departments, public works, and PLI. So we grouped them together, and then we grouped all what we would call our typical departments, such as IMP, HR, where we didn't have union anomalies or what have you. What we did is we identified the amount of time they took to do all of the scheduling, payroll processing, and also to do correct errors. Because since everything was manual, many times payroll was due on a Monday, then they didn't get correct information, they would have to try to correct it on Thursday, so the paychecks came out incorrectly, then they would have to go back and redo the paychecks. But we did a complete analysis of the current process, which allowed us to identify areas of improvement, and we have all that documentation we can share with you.
Do you have a number?
I do have a number. I don't know it off the top of my head, but in addition to that, we utilize Gartner, which is our technical advisor. They are specialists in technology support. And then we also had what we call peer interactions, where we called Cincinnati, Columbus, Cleveland, and asked them, what type of issues did you have with timekeeping and scheduling, and how did you make improvements? Indianapolis told us they saved literally $2 million in police payroll because they were paying overtime or misscheduling or double scheduling people because they didn't have electronic scheduling. Everything was done via paper. And one of the things we haven't pointed out today is that in addition to having accurate timekeeping, we're also going to have much better scheduling. Right now, for instance, EMS, their timekeeper spends about 3 or 4 days a week just juggling the different schedules to make sure they have the right EMS tech at the right place at the right time. This will allow them to do that all electronically if they choose. You asked which departments would adapt the electronic version, and for one, police can't because they use roll call as their system for identifying someone's there. We don't agree with it, but that's their, I guess, I'm assuming it's in their union agreement, and we can't touch that. DPW, in many cases, their folks don't have a PC or a cell phone or another way to electronically log in. We propose that they get time clocks. They're not in favor of time clocks, so we said, in order for you to accept this particular implementation, we're going to allow you to make your decisions. But most of the administrative departments are agreeing to adapt this particular process for timekeeping and scheduling. Now it's up to the lawyers and the union to negotiate with Public Works and with police to see if they can accept this, but we can't dictate that to them. So out of 3,500 employees, I would say probably police and DPW are at least maybe 1/3 of our employee staff. So I would say 2/3 of our population is willing to adapt an automated timekeeping and scheduling system. 1/3, I would say, still we need to have follow-up discussions. And in order to get acceptance, we weren't providing it as a mandate. But this particular contract expires December 31st. In order for us to do what we will call discovery and design and implementation and testing, we need to have a full quarter of testing, because in addition to timekeeping and scheduling, this also includes tax reporting and filing. And I don't know if you're aware, but we were fined this year because we did not file our taxes correctly, but we would avoid that as well. So we need to make a decision this month so that we can have a contract in place next month so that we can actually start discovery. And so we have a map, we have discovery for March through April, final design in May. I should say final design in May. Then the actual design and configuration through September, and then dual processing with the current system and the new system for 1 full quarter for accuracy. Then we want to have in the month of December, we want to have a 99.99% accuracy, and then have go live on January 1st. Okay. The longer we take to make that decision, the further out we go, and more than likely we will not be able to pay people January 1st.
I understand that, Gwendolyn. And you know what? I'll abstain today. I understand your timelines and your deadlines, but for me, just giving you my point of view, okay? When I see 1.7 million going toward technology, and saying you can use it if you want to, like Councilman O'Connor says, I think I have city-owned buildings that are abandoned and need to be knocked down in my neighborhood, and I think we can do that for $200,000. And so just looking at kind of a contractor's point of view for me, that's all. So,
well, as a contractor, we did go through the RFP process, and I think, did they give you the readout?
Well, I have one more question, I guess. what makes you think there's not going to be any mistakes because it's a new system? I mean, how's anything mistake-proof when humans are inputting information?
That we never stated. I stated that there would be less errors.
Oh, okay.
There is nothing error-proof.
And we did talk with other cities, and we did utilize our technology consultant, the Gartner folks, and they advised us of the things to look out for, what to look out for in implementation and design and what have you. So I think we've really covered many bases as possible to avoid as many issues and identify as many issues as possible. Is it going to be perfect? No, but we're really taking a lot of time to plan because we've been working on this since February of last year.
And as Gwen was saying, a lot of the benefits that you see are avoiding fines and avoiding very costly mistakes. But again, it's not only cities that are implementing the systems. Like any organization of a certain size typically runs their payroll and manage their employees using some sort of technology, and it's just part of the basic investment. I'm with you in trying to make the hard trade-off of understanding whether you're paying a police officer or demolishing a building or investing in technology, but the technology is part of the vital infrastructure that keeps the city operating well, and make sure that in the long run we're avoiding paying money out.
I'll
in
probably
fines and
support it in the end, Santiago. I want you to have a win on your first trip to the table here.
I appreciate that.
So,
One more
but
thing.
let me digest it a little bit. You
Okay.
know what I mean? Because
Well, one more thing that I think you're in business, and I know that you pay your payroll is per person per month. This rate is $7.22 per person per month for 3,500 employees, and the rate will be calculated based on an audit every 15th day of the month, and will only pay for the total number of payroll items processed. So if you have 5 employees, your total would be $35 or almost $40. For 3,500 employees, $7.22 per person per month is a really good rate. Do you know what rate you're paying per person per month for your business?
No, I don't.
Okay.
But I'll say this, though, I mean, again, it goes back to what Councilman O'Connor is saying, so we have to make sure, if it's a new system and if you believe in it, I have to take your word for it, I don't really know much about it, of course, so, but if you're going to use it, let's use it. If we're going to give people the option, I think you're going to get 20% of the people using it.
And to your point, and I believe this is part of the assessment that Gwen and her team did. Typically, before making a large investment like this, we come with a projected benefits assessment with understanding what the expected savings or the return is, and I believe that they've done a lot of that work. So they'll share it with you all.
So you say we'll save money? Okay.
And avoid expensive mistakes.
Mistakes and fines.
Okay.
On tax reporting alone, we're going to save $36,000 a quarter.
It's good. I need to see your confidence in it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith.
So, I have quite a few questions and comments more than anything, and I apologize for missing your interview, but I want to make it clear that I have to make sure I take the time to say this, that although I welcome you to the city of Pittsburgh, during our meeting, we did have a conversation about the department that you're going to oversee and how there are so many talented people there who I feel were overlooked and being promoted. And I want to make this very clear, and how I wish there were somebody from Pittsburgh, but I do think that you're going to do amazing work there because you have an amazing team with you. But I think that oftentimes I sit here and I watch women and minorities and others, Pittsburgh residents, be overlooked for positions that they should be considered. And so for the next time a director comes to this table, I will not vote in favor if they're not from the city of Pittsburgh, if they've not been promoted within, if there's an opportunity to do so. And so I just want to make sure that that's clear, but I'm looking forward to working with you. I think you have a lot to offer, but I think there are a lot of people in Pittsburgh and a lot of people within the department that have a lot to offer as well. So I just want to make sure I say that, but it's not my decision to pick the directors that's totally up to the administration. But I do think that we better look at what's happening here in the city of Pittsburgh, because this is not the first time this has happened. There's lawsuits pending in other cases, and although I know that the administration wants to do some great things in terms of promoting people within the city of Pittsburgh, and they've done a lot to hire minorities and women, when we overlook and devalue our current employees and our current residents that are paying the taxes, I think that we send a terrible message of what it's like to work in the city of Pittsburgh. So I'm just going to say that. Now my comments here.
I would just say my husband's employer does digital paychecks, and when they went digital, that's when most of the mistakes happened. I will just say that, number one. And there's something to be said for human input, and I know my niece, who lives in Berkeley, California, works at the University of Berkeley, is telling me how in Berkeley they're going back to things without computers, and realizing the value of the actual human being actually inputting information and doing the jobs. So I just want to say that. But I think that we should hold this until we at least have the opportunity to talk to our unions. And I think that when you mentioned that you worked on this since February, you certainly had time to have those conversations with the unions and with others and with council. And I think this is part of the problem that happens here in the city of Pittsburgh. You come to this council table, not you in particular, but everybody in general, and expect us to vote on something because you're in a time crunch and because you need something. And so that we're supposed to jump and just do it. I'm not voting in favor of it. Although I think that this is really needed. I'm not going to, if we vote today, I'll vote no. If we hold it, then I'll be open to the idea, because I do think that the idea is overdue. I think it's time we have this process here in place. But I think a lot of times we talk about running the city as a business, and it's not a business. I mean, it's really not. I mean, it's really very different than running a corporation. I mean, that's how Trump is running the government, and we hear a lot of people with the complaints now when he said he was going to run it as a business. Well, you have to understand that there's a lot more involved here than just running a business. There's a lot we have to deliver to our residents. There's a lot that taxpayers are expecting to hold us accountable for, and there are a lot of things that differ here, and our employees don't always, have the same luxury as a 9-to-5 job and punching in and punching out. They're sometimes on call, working on the weekends, working in the evenings, and I think a lot of times our employees get a bad rap because there are so many of them that put in so much overtime without pay and without any expectation of any kind of reward. And I think that sometimes the public needs to realize that we do have some really great employees here, and I think they know that overall. But I think that we should wait until we hear from the unions ourselves, and I think from now, and I feel this way, and I say this all the time, when we talk about the spending money on technology, and as you mentioned, there are so many other important things that we have to spend money on right now. I mean, we have hillsides coming down. We have, and you could say that we can't spend this money on that, and we could figure out ways to take care of some things. If we can spend this much money on technology, we could spend this much money on landslides, street repaving, and I realize we increased that budget, but there's always more roads that need paved. There's always hillsides coming down. There's always sidewalks crumbling. There's always bridges in need of repair, and some of those things. I mean, I know that you can make an argument for or against all this stuff, but the fact of the matter is, to the general public, when you're spending this kind of money on things they don't see a deliverable from, it's difficult to explain. And so, but people know is what's outside their door. The demo of the house that's been, condemned for decades and is still sitting there. And there's no excuse for any of this. I mean, we really need to get on the ball in some of these areas. And I think, technology may be very important to the city of Pittsburgh, but I think that we have a lot of opportunity to use the universities and partner with universities. When we talk about public-private partnerships, those are some of the things that we underutilize. I feel like we underutilize, especially Carnegie Mellon in this area. They could come up with things, that are free of cost so many times. And working with our partners in Pittsburgh Public Schools, their tech department, it does an amazing job, and I think that the same employee's been there for decades, and running that. Yet he's managed to keep up with things and keep Pittsburgh Public Schools on the forefront in terms of technology. So I think sometimes there's something to be said for institutional knowledge. But I'm just going to say, if this is not held today, I will not vote in favor. Even though I think that we should be going digital, I think that you've had time to talk to the unions. We should have had some better information, and informing council ahead of time before you come to the table with a vote. When you're working on something months in advance, come talk to us ahead of time, so when you come to the table, we don't have a million questions. We already know the answers, and we can state why we're voting for things, instead of sitting here scrambling and trusting that what you're saying to us is accurate and true. You seem very honest and seem very kind, but I don't know that what everyone's saying is accurate, because I haven't had time to even ask somebody who may know. And I will say that I do have people I can ask in my family, so who are very talented, and a brother who was a dean at Carnegie Mellon for science and engineering.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. Ms. Strasburger.
Thank you. So I realize that this is a very large contract, and I'm glad that we're having a robust conversation about it. I had a very, very helpful meeting a couple of weeks ago with Ms. Moore and Heidi Norman and her team about this that broke down, because this has to do with the committee that I chair, the IMP committee. And I know that they also met with Councilwoman Harris, because this is in her committee as well. Chiefly in her committee. And they broke down for me exactly what the timeline was, why we need to start this basically immediately, because there is such a big ramp up period over 2019 before payroll goes into effect January 2020, and exactly what will happen month by month by month, which you illustrated through telling us today, but it was kind of broken down on a piece of paper to understand, what needs to happen by May, what needs to happen by September, to ensure that we are fixing some of that the technology that's being implemented isn't wrong, that we're fixing some of the things that were errors because of human error, and ensuring that by the time it launches January 2020, the paychecks are correct, they're accurate, and they're removing the majority of human errors. I mean, in this day and age, the fact that we are missing deadlines, that we are, getting penalized for tax deadlines that we're missing, that we don't even know how many errors that we're making because of human error, because we're entering things in manually, is pretty ridiculous. We need to be, this is 2019. Tomorrow, next year is going to be 2020. We need to kind of catch up to the times, and if it takes significant investment in technology to do that, now's the time to do that. I have been, hearing along the table that there are concerns that we need to perhaps hold it for a week or two to so that we have more information, that others at the table receive the information that I was given in the briefing, which was, I thought, incredibly helpful and informative. And that's fine with me, but I do want to caution against necessarily having an answer or negotiation worked out before voting on this, because with the unions before voting on this. I'm fine with holding it, a week or two, maybe, if we need to just get more information and start those conversations and understand how they're going. But the law department working out a contract with unions could take months, and we don't have time to do that if we're going to stay on track to be able to have this ready to go for payroll purposes January 2020. So I would just caution against that. And, if we're able to get if all council members are able to get the one pager that you were provided to us.
I thought it was distributed, I'm sorry. Wasn't it distributed?
We haven't received, I don't think the rest of council received that. So if we're able to get that in the next week or so, then that would be really helpful as well. And just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that makes my point. So do want to caution against waiting too long to act on this, because, I guess the other thing is, the point was already made, but in terms of scheduling, we don't, it's easy to think about our own department and how easy it is to schedule or to use time cards for our staff. But it, as was mentioned before, it can be really complex and take an enormous amount of clerical time to schedule EMS schedules, or to figure out, all the different types of overtime for public safety. And if we can eliminate some of that, and those people are freed up to be able to actually do their job as they should be doing, rather than spending time, figuring out the puzzle that is who's going to be working overtime and who's available. And as Acting Director Garces said, if we can save money by avoiding mistakes and double paying people or double booking people, I don't think it's easy to quantify that, as Councilman Coghill is asking for. How do you know what kind of mistakes you're making unless you change the system? So we don't know that at this time, but no doubt we are making mistakes and we're paying for it. So I think we'll see in the future how much we're able to save because of those changes that we're implementing, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cross.
Okay, I'll be brief. Thank you very much for being here this morning. I greatly appreciate it. Most of my comments, I'd really piggyback on to Councilwoman Strasburger's. But Gwen, every question that I had, you very succinctly and very professionally clarified point by point by point by point. And so I don't have any questions now because they're all answered. But the one pager that was referenced, if you would submit that through the clerk's office so all members could see that clear and easy breakdown. I'm happy to support it. We'll vote in favor. If members wish to hold, we can discuss the hold. But again, I would caution, as Councilwoman Strasburger does, that we don't cripple your timeline and ultimately make you ineffective in being able to apply the strategy. I would hope that we'd vote through today. If we vote through today, we always have the opportunity to recommit on Tuesday if we haven't been satisfied with what it is that members wish to see. But right now, we're talking at about $344,000 a year over 5 years, and as Gwen, you broke down, we're talking about $7 an employee per paycheck or per month? Per month to provide an accurate payroll system. And what really got me is when you broke down the liability that one could assume by providing an accurate payment, and cities that have paid $2 million in fines for inaccurately paying their employees, which would be the entire cost of implementing the system, and that would go out the window in a fine possibility. So with that, I'll conclude. I am happy to support. I hope that we'll do this today. If necessary, recommit if that is what is the council's wish. And again, just appreciate your professionalism in the way you carry yourselves here at the table. Thank you.
Mr. Lavelle.
Thank you. Ms. Moore actually clarified the questions I had. I do have one other question, though. Because you mentioned employees being able to sort of log on via their cell phone or something of that nature. Is there a period of which you would make, like, could they log on from home? Like, how do you control how they can actually log on to the system?
So again, having not negotiated and having conversations with the vendor, I don't know, but typically what you would do is you would federate the same credentialing system that you have to access your email with the system to access the portal. So if a person has access to the network, they have a username and a password, and that protects access to the system to make sure that not anyone can just log in and see your time. So typically with the same credentials that they have to access their MDTs if they're in the police, fire, or so it's typically the same, like, email address and
I probably didn't ask
the
the
password.
question appropriately then, because I understand that part.
Yeah.
So right now I can go onto any computer, log on to the system, and check my email. But how do you know, because you mentioned being able to accurately track time, how do you know if I do that and I'm out somewhere in the city that I'm actually working? If I just log on to the system at 7:30 and say, oh, I'm out repaving a street, or whatever that may be.
That's where, depending on the, well, do you want to?
Yeah, so with this respective system, it will actually set up what is known as the work schedule. And so if someone's regular work schedule, that their start time is 7:30 and then they conclude at 4:45, then that is already, is already going to be identified in the system what their work schedule will be. So when they are clocking in, it will be able to identify if they're within their time frame that they should be working. Does that answer your question?
If they're not accurately
But are
entering their information,
But
we can't track that. We expect that all of our employees would honestly identify their time. However, we can't police everyone.
The real question,
Right, I mean, we can't
so
currently
Councilman
either,
Lavelle,
so
is
I'm
your
just-
question,
Yes, there is room for flaws.
Well,
Councilman Lavelle, is your question, can we really identify that if someone is logging in and stating that they're working when they may not be working?
And here's
that
my
the question?
So the system will accurately track the time that's being inputted.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
It doesn't accurately
Police.
Police.
And
typically,
okay.
well,
so
typic-
I'm just clarifying
Right.
because early when we were saying,
But
oh,
did I
well,
articulate
now-
what you were
'cause we can't-
asking?
'cause we can't track time now
Currently, today,
accurately.
we're not able to do
Right.
that, and so we're not policing it in that manner today, and so it's not going to be policed in that manner in the future.
So typically what some of these systems do, and again, I can't talk about the specifics of Ceridian, but what they do is that there's a trail of how you connected to the system when you entered your time. So if it's done from a mobile device, it typically puts in the coordinates of where you were when you put in your time. If it's a fixed computer, it usually logs in the IP address so we can tell whether you put it in it from home or you put it in from work and what computer at work. That's typically what's done. So just saying, I don't know the specifics of this system, but these types of systems tend to have a track log where you can,
IP address, yes.
where you can corroborate to make sure that what the employee is saying is true.
So, first of all, Mr. Garces, welcome to our city. We are not always like this.
Yes,
We are like this, when I mean in terms of intense. We have levels of intensity. So being your first day, your first time with us, we're not always this intense. I want to use this time, though, to have, it was mentioned really, and Ms. Harris and I had this conversation offline, and I'm going to say, I'm going to use this to say something not to the people at the table. I'll make it very clear, I am not talking about you at the table. There has been moments, I'm in my 12th year on council now, and there have been moments, this is not one of them, where people have come to council, directors and people who have viewed coming to us as an inconvenience or as a formality because they really misunderstand our role. We are elected by district to represent the people of the city of Pittsburgh. There was a lawsuit that forced us to, we were elected by, as a whole, for many, many years, and there was a lawsuit that forced us to be elected by district, right? And the elected by district was specifically so more of the people, in this case African Americans, would have direct input into the city. Two, as you know, directors, although are selected by the administration, they cannot serve unless they are confirmed by council. Council has a direct obligation and responsibility to oversee every dollar of the city of Pittsburgh, and to generally, we do not manage, but we do oversee every department. Yeah. And so I think sometimes, again, this is not you, people forget that we get to make unilateral decisions despite the best work, despite the best thoughts, despite the best theories of the directors and staff people. At the end of the day, our decisions are actually not, we listen to you, but then we do our own conversation, right? Our own conversation. And I think I'm one of the bigger fans of the administration, you know, the mayor and the administration. I think we work very well together. But I am a member of council, and I will not, while I am here, I will not willfully reduce our power or authority. We work, it's always going to be a tension between the administrative part and us, the legislative part. But I also say that sometimes directors need to understand, not directors, the administration needs to understand, everyone, that we are council. And that we are not a formality. So engaging us on the front end, right, especially now that we're out of Act 47. That's not been a lot of conversation, but we can unilaterally, you know, take budgets and cut them in half, right? We can just say, okay, really? Okay, how about you have half the money that you had last year, and then you go deal, let's cut off half the staffing. Not that we're going to do something that draconian, but we absolutely can do it, and there is no remedy for that. We have absolute power to do it. 5 members of council.
I have my first department on the list, top
right?
of the list.
So 5 members of council, and sometimes with 6 members, can absolutely do this with impunity. And I don't say this all the time, but every now and then I have to remind the city that we have a very, and again, only because I kind of heard echoes, and Ms. Harris and I have had this conversation kind of offline, that the power of council is absolute in many ways. Although we do not use it often, we absolutely have it and can display it and will display it if forced to. And so I'm hopeful, and again, I love working with the administration, but we have to do this together. We are not a formality. We're not a last resort. These should, in my opinion, that's the reason that we have committees. And not that you haven't, but in general, there should be no major department should not be undergoing any major funding request or city reorganization without talking to the council person who oversees that department in the city. Keeping your, again, not for you, I'm talking broader, for every department, keeping your council person informed. Now, if that person doesn't tell us, then we'll deal with the member of council. But you keep the council person informed, and then that person informs the rest of us so that we are all working on the same way. That's the way this is the way this is supposed to go. There are times when departments don't talk to their council person, they make major decisions, then they submit legislation in front of us, and we become a little snippy, right, a little snippy. And I think that so you hear echoes of that, which has nothing to do with you, but you'll hear echoes of someone else doing that, and that's what you're hearing a little bit from us, not directed toward this bill, but the general process.
you
And so I wanted to at least lay it out, and every now and then, I don't do it all the time, but as finance chair, I think and as one of the older members of council in terms of tenure, right?
And age.
And age, right? Both, right? That's right. Tenure and age, right? I have the stature and the experience to kind of have that conversation, because I've also been at the table where council has done some significant things unilaterally, and so I would not like to do that. I want to do that in partnership, but I want to at least remind the city and use this experience, this moment, to remind the whole city of how the process is supposed to work, right? I thought our budget negotiations was a great example of how it's supposed to look, right? That's how it's supposed to look, where the administration and the council work really closely together and come up with best interest of the city. That's a great example of how it's supposed to work. But it's also supposed to work that way with all the directors, all the departments, all the city functions, even the authorities, really. That's why they have to send us their budgets. I mean, we have oversight into everything. So I'm just using this moment to have a teaching moment that's not really for you, but so that we're all on the same page in terms of what our expectations are. I'll stop there. I will vote for it. I don't know what we're going to do, the council wants to do, whether they want to hold or vote it, but I will support this. I think it's important that people get paid. We need an electronic system to pay you. I don't want to wait till the end of the year to get paid. So to pay me or the staff folk, right?
But we still have human beings working to consume it.
But we do have some time, so we'll see how council wants to curve that, how we want to finish this. But that's it. So Ms. Harris next, and then Ms. Smith.
Ms. Smith and then Ms. Harris.
I
told her.
Okay, Ms. Smith.
I just real quickly, I just want to say, I heard the comments about we don't have time, but again, we had time. We've been working on this since, about a year now. So if you've been working about it since February, we had more than enough time to talk to the unions, and so time should not be of the essence, which is my entire point, is that we're waiting to the last minute all the time to come to this council for a lot of money. So we should have had the opportunity to talk to council. We should have had the opportunity to talk to unions. And so I don't know that, and you said that you're having those conversations with unions, which makes me think that there must be some significant hesitation, or this would have already been done. I mean, you could have came to the table and told us that they were okay with it. And so since you're not saying that, and I just really think, I personally would like to hear from the unions. So I'd like to hold for 1 week, and that's about it.
Ms. Harris.
Yes. This brought out a lot of other questions, too. The one thing that I would like to happen is maybe you get together and call or talk to each of the unions to see. We're already hearing that the police and public works are not part of this. Okay. And that's an awful lot of people. So I would check. I don't know if you want to do it together, or you just want to do it, or you just want to do it. But I'd like to give you some time to talk to the unions, and then give me a buzz as far as the personnel, because it's personnel. personnel. Okay. Give me a buzz, and we'll set up a couple meetings so council members can talk us out.
And if I make a comment, well, first of all, I want to thank you all for welcoming me. I feel I feel proud to be a new Pittsburgher. I am an immigrant, and I am playing into a larger tradition of a great city, and I feel very fortunate and lucky to be able to serve and to work with you all. So I just want to, Jens, I guess. So I want to thank you. And every council person that I've met has been welcoming and has been honest with me, and I appreciate it. And to your point, a council person, I think what I want to indicate is there's two components that we've been discussing. The timekeeping piece is all of the new functionality that we currently not have, and I think that it is the point of contention with regards to whether everybody should be using it or not everybody should be using it. What are the expectations with the unions and whatnot? The second piece, that conversation does not have a timeline on it. That's new functionality. We've never had that, like, electronic system. The payroll piece is a part that we currently have. So this is the piece where there's a timeline. If by the end of the year we have not made upgrades to our payroll system, the risk of us not being able to pay our employees, because the way that we've been executing the payroll relies on that system, that there's an actual risk of us not being able to execute our payroll. That is why.
Get somebody to come in and talk to us about computer science.
That is why we budgeted this item in. We put it in the budget, and it's right now in the IMP budget. You don't know me, so you have to take my word for it. But again, we're happy to bring.
Or I can vote no.
Yeah, no, and but
Here's what I'm going to say. Either you guys talk to the unions, just to get an idea of what, they're going to do. And evidently the mayor's office is pleased with the way this is, so I guess he's going to use it for his employees over. Somebody talk to the mayor, because it says mayor and directors.
So, Sure, go ahead. So I think, Ms. Harris, what I'm suggesting is, I'm going to suggest that I will, in a moment, entertain a hold. So I think
I want to say a couple things.
Yeah, say what you want to say. After that, I want to entertain a motion to hold.
Yeah, that's what my last thing is. So it can be one way or the other. We can ask the heads of the unions to tell us how they feel, or you can do that. And then I know I have some more things on here. Okay. Is this the same company that we used last year?
yes, it is the same system that.
It's not the same platform.
We issued a request for proposal.
Okay. There were other people that bid on this, right?
We had 11 responders.
Okay, so why were we fined?
I'm sorry?
If we paid them good money to take care of our system last year, why were we fined?
Taxes you mentioned being fined for not filing.
The taxes.
Oh, Ceridian, we filed, the HR filed their own taxes. Ceridian did not file taxes for us.
Okay, so
we did it internally.
That's not part of it?
Correct.
That's why we're bringing it into this program, because we don't want to have issues in going forward.
So would they be doing the
Tax filing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I would assume we wouldn't get fines. How much were we fined last year?
I'm not aware of the total, but I'm aware of just one time $36,000.
$36,000. I could have used that. I had to give up $3 million for landslides in my district, and they're still not fixed. But this was bid out. There were others.
Yes.
Can I,
Please.
is it appropriate for me to share that with you?
Okay. I think this was shared with me already.
You have other copies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can we distribute that? Yes, of course. We can distribute the copies to each of you.
Okay, because what I have is that for the first year, it would be 500,000, right?
Thank you. You're welcome.
$500,000.
Oh, sorry, yes.
So, Reverend,
I'm sorry.
you
Sorry.
or
I think the second page at the bottom, I'm sorry, Sylvia.
wrong on that. There are different
The third page at the bottom identifies all of the respondents and their responses, and how we, the amount of money that they bid initially, and how they were ranked as part of the process.
Okay. And this is going to take some time for council to read.
I understand, and I'm sorry, I thought we had distributed before, I'm very sorry.
This one I didn't.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But it's funny because you take care of IMP and I take care of...
Yeah, and I specifically asked for them to bring this to the table, and I'm really glad that it's here. So thank you for preparing this and
sorry.
bringing it. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, and like I said, the mayor's office must be okay with this because evidently he's going to use it this way.
Yes.
And I am assuming council is going to just stay the way they've been. They give their own raises, they do their time cards.
Yeah, this time system has nothing to do with dictating, compensation or anything like that for city council. It's just more of making sure that the time that is worked and reported, that is paid out accurately.
Okay, and
So maybe we'll get a pay increase.
okay. Hold on. Okay. So what I think we should do is you guys talk to the unions. Make sure, if we go with this, that all supervisors, all salaried employees are only getting that and not more days off. Because, wow. And I just wanted to say PPS has had problems with theirs too. So when I was there,
Yes.
so and if that was to the good of the employee did not have to pay back. So I think that's it. And the other thing that Councilman Lavelle said about the, will you know they're at home or will you know they're out to do this? Would that be used against the employee?
I mean, there's currently no policy that is created on how to administer the usage of the time system.
Okay. The unions will probably ask that question because the GPSs were not supposed to be for anyone to come right up to a number 5 or 6 or whatever it is and not get paid for 2 and 3 months, which is not right. Especially when they said that the GPSs would not be used that way. And I'm talking about Public Works and what's the other one? DOMI.
So I think
Okay, so what I'm going to do, because this is going to take some time, talking to the unions and having these meetings, like with 3 council members at a time, I'm going to motion for a 2-week hold.
Is there a second?
Second.
No debate on 2-week hold. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. It's held for 2 weeks. Thank you very much for your participation. Next bill, please.
9, resolution approving that the city enter into a professional services agreement and/or contract with UPMC Mercy in connection with the administration and evaluation of medical examinations and related tests and procedures for the Civil Service Commission's medical examination program for current and prospective employees for employment and promotion, and providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $1,600,000.
Need a motion, Ms. Harris.
Motion to approve with discussion.
Second, Ms. Harris.
Okay. With this one here, and I know we tried to meet yesterday.
And we've discussed this, and our meeting that was scheduled for yesterday was just a reminder. So you and I have had this discussion regarding this respective contract, and so it did go out for an RFP. This UPMC Mercy was actually the only responder to the RFP. This professional service that they provide, it is for a 4-year time frame, and they are the ones that will be administering and completing all medical and drug test analysis for all city employees. So when an employee is hired by the city of Pittsburgh, they have to have their respective medical examination completed as well as their respective drug tests completed. UPMC Mercy, that is the facility that the respective employee will go to for that to be administered, for them to complete their hiring process for the city of Pittsburgh.
Okay. Since then, a few people on our side of the floor said that they would like this as an RFP and also invite others.
Yes, ma'am. Councilwoman Harris, it was sent out as an RFP, and the only responder to the RFP was UPMC Mercy. They were the only ones that placed.
Did you reach out to any of the others?
So when we place the RFP, it is out for a significant amount of time to allow other contractors to express interest in gaining this contract with the city of Pittsburgh. When the RFP was placed out, UPMC was the only respondent, even though it was placed out for almost a 30-day time frame for us to receive bids, for them to do the administration of our medical and drug testing analysis for the city. So it was listed. There was enough time afforded for other organizations to respond and place their respective interests in doing business with the city. Unfortunately or fortunately, UPMC Mercy was the only respondent. So we just continued with the process, as we needed to make sure that we did not want to hold up any hiring timeframes for any respective departments in the city. And so they were the selected vendor. And so the contract, as you can read for yourself or understand for yourself, that it is over $1 million, but it is for a 4-year time period.
All right. So since they were the only ones, and I think we should reach out to more, because I think when you get more people involved, you get different prices. So I would really like to, and I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything, but I'd like to give UPMC 1 year and then bid it out again and reach out to others to be able to be part of this.
Well, with all due respect, Councilwoman Harris, there was the allotted time afforded. So it's not like we just, stated we're only going to select UPMC. The information was listed, so others could bid. For whatever reason, they chose not to.
Where was it listed?
So, of course, Department of HR is working with the procurement department, and so they have it placed on their respective system, the Beacon. So that way it is a system that it's visible to all contractors that have interest. And so respective contractors do have the ability to see what bids are available for them to place their interests in to try and gain and obtain business with the city. So there was enough allotted time. I do respect what you're saying, but in all fairness, considering the fact that the process was followed in accordance to what HR should have done, working with the Department of Procurement and placing it on the beacon, which is the system that is utilized for companies to go on site and then review what is available for them to have the opportunity to place interest to seek in gaining the business. So I appreciate what you're saying, but this was done in a timely fashion, and I don't want to be disrespectful to you by stating, let's only put it back out there again. There was enough allotted time. Now, some organizations choose not to place their bids or express their interest for a variety of reasons that they just do not share with the respective city. And so, one, they won't express interest in bid, or even follow up on the open RFP. But UPMC Mercy did that. They followed the process. And, to our advantage, they're also very convenient to us, which is also right down the street as well.
Okay, but with all due respect, there was only one bidder on here, and yesterday it came to my attention, and I was asked to give them 1 year and then put it out for bid again and reach out and let other people know that.
Oh, just to be clear, you can't quite do that. Just to be clear, what you can do is you can vote no on this resolution, but there is no vehicle that council has other than just rejecting the RFP and rejecting this and making it come back to us in a different form. That you can do, but you cannot, with this bill, there's no vehicle to do that. If you want to do it, I'm telling you how to do it. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, but you would have to vote, we'd have to vote no for this, and then they would have to decide whether or not they wanted to release the RFP. They don't really have to. They could then do some other things, and we'll figure that out later. But anyway, that's the process. So,
okay, I was going to give them 1 year, and yes, you're right, Reverend. So when is ours up?
So this respective contract would be effective for...
when is the one that we're in right now? When's that up?
So it does conclude this year, I want to say, at the end of this month. And so that is why we had to place the RFP out in advance prior to it expiring, which is the conversation that you and I had. And so you have to give an allotted amount of time for responses, because it's kind of backtracking from the time that you know that a contract will expire to the fact of when you have to place the RFP to allow enough time for responses, and then to go through the EORC process. Well, before you get to the EORC process, reviewing all respondents, and in this case, it was just one, and then going to the respective EORC commission, and then receiving their approval, and then presenting before City Council as well.
Okay, what we can do, though, Rev, is extend the contract 3 or 4 months so it can go out and have other bidders. We've done it before.
all of the things you're saying is true, but we're not empowered to do that. That's my point. That's an administrative function. That's not a council function.
You can put it down and send it back.
I don't want to be without it. We have extended contracts.
That part's true.
Okay, so if we extend this contract, then we can go out
No,
and
we don't.
get
What I'm
bids.
saying is that has to be brought to us. That is not our.
What do you mean brought to us? We take care of the money.
My point is, there's no resolution on the table to do what you're asking to do. There's been no request from the department to do what you're asking to do. Right now, your options, as far as I can see, you have three options. You could, this bill, for my understanding, I don't have it in front of me, I'd have to see it. as I have to see what it looks like. And if I see what it looks like, I can kind of tell you what your options are. But from what I can see, if I see the bill, I can tell you your options. I don't have it right in front of me to look at it. Your options A is to vote it down. Your option 2, depending on how it's set up, is you could amend the resolution to eliminate the out years. You could do that too. You could eliminate the out years. That's how you could amend this resolution to only do 2019. You can eliminate years 20, 21, 22. However, when you do that, you also have a problem because the RFP has been released with the assurance of a multi-year contract. So you're actually breaking the contract that you've already entered into. There is no guarantee that the annual amount was based on a 5-year contract. Even though it's broken out annually, that does not mean that the provider will be willing to provide you with this service for a year. So there's no, my point is, there's no, I don't think this is a, doing it this way is not a responsible way to do it. You can do it. I don't think it's responsible. I think the responsible way is to do one of two things. Either vote this through or vote it down and make them bring us something that try to have them bring you something that is that's more to your pleasure. I think that's right. I just look at it to make sure. But, okay, so.
Okay, the way it is, if I can't amend it, I'm going
You
to
can.
make
You can amend it.
I can't amend it.
You can.
Okay.
Can I just suggest this? Can I just say this? Can
Sure.
we pass it today, take this week to work on?
Once you pass it.
And then recommit it next week if it doesn't, if we don't get to some compromise here.
But it's not, I guess what I'm saying, Ms. Harris, we don't have but since it is an administrative issue.
So it gives her time to do the wording if
Yes.
we pass it today.
We don't have time, we don't have the assurance of the provider that they will provide this service for a year. They've said we'll provide this service for X number of years, that's X number of dollars. They have not said we will provide this service for 1 year at X number of dollars. That's a whole different contract. So simply amending the contract doesn't mean the provider, contracts between two parts, the city part, the provider part. There's no guarantee that the provider will honor our changes because that has to be negotiated, which is an administrative function, not a council function. Therefore, I will go back to what I said from the very beginning, which I think is right. You have some options. I think you can amend it. I think council will not amend it, though, but you can try. I think we will vote that down. I think your options are to vote for it or to vote against it. I think that's your real options. That's my advice. And then the will of council will be the will of council.
So,
I'm saying this right.
I'll abstain today.
Okay.
And have those people talk to the rest of council.
Those
But
people.
yeah, from
What
the,
people?
for our whole, from our whole.
I don't know what that means. What people?
All right, we'll have additional conversations.
Okay, Ms. Smith.
That's it.
All right, so there's, Mr. Cross, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Just briefly. So I'm happy to support this today. I have one question. Who had the contract before this?
It actually was UPMC
It was UPMC Mercy.
Mercy.
Okay, all right, which is good, and we were satisfied with the services that they provided.
Yes.
And I just want to caution the council to be very careful that, we could delay employment. We're constantly talking about bringing our fire numbers up, our police numbers up. If, we get lost in a quagmire here, we could seriously hamper our ability to bring additional training classes on for police officers and those kinds of things. We did have the contract with UPMC. We're satisfied with their services. The last thing I would like to offer up is the idea of reaching out to prospective applicants, if you will, and the danger, I think, that we're in, the dangerous territory we're in terms of the legalities of showing favoritism or a level of conspiracy, which is a very strong word, to invite people to come in. We put these out publicly for a reason,
Yeah,
and
it's
we
their
allow them
responsibility to
yeah,
follow.
we allow them to live out there on purpose, and then allow them to come to us to say, we are interested. We don't go out and say, hey, you should bid on this. That's not our role. We don't do that. So just want to be careful that we don't get into some legal quagmire. But as of today, I will support the passage.
Motion approved on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Abstentions?
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Director,
We
for
have
being
one
here today.
more. We have one more. We have
Oh, you're
one
here
more.
more? Oh,
We have
okay.
one more bill under this committee. If the clerk would please read it.
Trifecta today, Director. huh?
Bill 1330, resolution amending Resolution Number 363, which authorizes the City of Pittsburgh to enter into a professional service agreement with Aon Risk Services for the purpose of securing excess workers' compensation insurance coverage by increasing the cost by $24,000 for 120 additional days of service.
I need a motion, Ms. Harris.
Motion to approve.
I need a second. Any conversation? No conversation. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposers, nay. Although that exhausts that committee, I need to go back to the first committee of the day. I need to do a couple of things. There was not some paper in front of me, and Ms. Smith was not here, and so I did not do her intention because I just didn't know it. So first of all, I need a motion to reconsider Bill 1287.
Motion to reconsider.
Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposers, nay. We are reconsidering Bill 1287, which is in front of you. Do you have to, I don't think you have to read it again. Do you need to read it again? I don't think so. I think what we do, though, there is an amendment. There's a written amendment in front of you. It was not in my papers when I sat here, so I did not see it till now. I need a motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
Second, the amendment is self-explanatory. It's an amendment by substitution for that bill. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Now we're on now the amended bill. All those in
I'm going to
favor.
abstain from that because I haven't had a chance to read it. It's the bill that I passed?
No.
Okay, I apologize.
It's finance and law.
Okay.
We're going to get to you next.
Okay, I
All those in
apologize.
favor of the amended bill signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Now that takes us to, that now has been
I put my
amended and
glasses
approved. That takes us to the second bill, again, under my committee. I need a motion to reconsider Bill 1338 under the request of Mrs. Kell Smith, who is the sponsor of the bill.
Motion to reconsider.
Need a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. We are now reconsidering the bill. There is a desire to have a motion to hold by Mrs. Smith, a motion to hold for 4 weeks. Will entertain such a motion?
Motion to hold for 4 weeks.
Need a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Thank you, council,
Councilman
for your
Strasburg, for bringing it up.
indulgence, and sorry. All right, that takes us now to the Land Use and Economic Development Committee, page 7 in your agenda, chaired by Mrs. Gross. We have a supplemental paper.
Bill 1353, ordinance amended and supplemented the Pittsburgh Code by creating Title 13 entitled Stormwater Management and by deleting stormwater management text from Title 10, Building, Chapter 1003.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve.
Need a second? Any conversation? No conversation. Ms. Harris,
Who's here?
is there someone here for this bill? Please come forward.
Morning, Andrew.
Good morning, good afternoon, I think now. Council, Andrew Dash, Assistant Director, Department of City Planning.
Kara Smith, Environmental Planner.
And so this is an amendment to the city's code relative to work that is, the state and the county had done relative to Act 167. So Act 167 is a state act relative to watershed planning and stormwater management planning. The county did an Act 167 plan for all of the watersheds of the county that were not currently under a 167 plan. So City of Pittsburgh has done Act 167 plans for the Monongahela River watershed, and then there's one done for the Gertie's Run watershed as well, where the city has specific stormwater management requirements for those.
Is that the one on Washington Boulevard?
No, neither of the. Gertie's Run is.
Oh, I
what
know
comes in
where
through
Gertie's
Memphis.
Run.
Sorry.
That's
So.
brings in Shaler Township.
Yeah.
And Millville.
So this was work that was done by the county on a countywide level. Once there is an Act 167 plan done, there's a requirement for municipalities to come into compliance with that plan within 6 months of its adoption by, in this case, county council. So the work that has gone on was amending the city's stormwater code relative to the Act 167 plan. This is work that city planning did with permits, licenses, and inspections, and PWSA. This is the stormwater management regulations, although stormwater management plans are reviewed by city planning. It was currently in Title 10 in the building code. And so one of the discussions with PLI was, since we had to do amendments relative to Act 167, moving that from the building code, since PLI is not administering those sections of code, and moving them into a separate title. So that's why that work was done. And then we've been working with PWSA as well, because part of the inspection of stormwater management systems and some of the engineering review, they assist us in some of the technical review of stormwater management planning that we do as a part of our development review process. And so the amendments that are before you at council, as a part of this bill, are essentially to make sure that we're in compliance with the 167 planning that was done. We do want to do a second phase of this, which will be a larger public engagement. We'll have a larger public engagement process around looking at some of the kind of aspirations that the city has relative to stormwater management, and improving the regulations and enhancing the regulations that we have, especially as we see a lot of the weather events and things and the effects that we're having from weather events, and development's role in that across the city. So, although this is, something that is kind of, for us, mandated to be in compliance with the state act, we do look to do a second phase in combination with PWSA and, hiring engineering assistants and bringing that on to do further amendments to the code over 2019.
Okay, so you have Gertie's Run and you have Millville. Are we paying for their stormwater too?
This is what's in the code is relative to if development that meets a certain threshold, of disturbance, they have to come in through.
Yes or no answer. Are we getting the stormwater coming in from Gertie's Run, because it runs down through Shaler Township, Millville, and then it hits down by Washington's Landing?
Only a small part of Gertie's Run is in the city. Most of this plan encompasses the other watersheds in the city too.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, this
we
ordinance.
get a great deal from Alcosan coming that way. And my concern is, how long have we been doing this? 3-4 years now?
How long have we been doing what? I'm sorry.
The stormwater management.
Stormwater management
Which we were required to do, and that would be catch our own water.
Well, so stormwater management as a part of the development review process is something that we've done for decades. It's something that's been in the code for decades. There were amendments approximately, I think, 5 or 6 years ago that created enhanced standards for things that were publicly subsidized, enhanced stormwater requirements. But this is something that has been that the city has had the responsibility to do for, as a part of its development.
So what have we done with Gertie's Run? So that we are not getting that water.
I think we're talking about two separate things, and so improvements.
Stormwater management.
Yes, and this is relative to the requirements that the city puts on applicants if they're looking to do a development, for managing stormwater, that is a part of their development, not larger projects that whether the city through Public Works or DOMI or PWSA
so
are
all
doing.
this is flowers or something like that to absorb water?
No, these are the requirements that we have in place.
And so does the county, correct?
Sorry, so does the municipality?
Every municipality?
Yes, every municipality in the state.
So my question is, and I see it happening, and I see nothing going on to help it. A number of municipalities' water are still pouring into the city of Pittsburgh, and nothing has been done. So what are we doing to talk to the county about having your municipalities take care of your water, and the city of Pittsburgh will take care of theirs?
Well, the Act 167.
Because it actually gets to almost a flood point.
The Act 167 requirements done by the county are not only, we're not the only municipality that is, the upstream municipalities are also required to, to adopt these regulations
And since
as
you're
a part
working
of.
with the county, which is why that's what I heard you say.
The county was,
Yes.
who
Okay,
managed the
she's saying
167.
yes. Okay, that's all I wanted is yes or no.
Okay.
So something needs to be done with the municipality surrounding my district.
Okay.
We are abiding by what we are being asked to do. And I think not just my district, probably Andrew's district is having the same problem. And I don't know what other members, but I would like something to be talked about with Connie to make sure that they're not just dumping into the city, which they are.
Okay, I think we can have that discussion as part of the second phase of of our work, that is beyond just kind of coming into compliance with the county regulations.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Sooner the better. Next time you meet with them.
Okay.
I mean, you're getting water from outside. This is storm water.
Oh, I get water everywhere. We got pockets of homes that get pounded every
Exactly. Exactly. And
Lot of-
it's
lot of
coming
reasons behind it.
from other municipalities other than the city of Pittsburgh. And if we're working on Pittsburgh, then the county better start working on their municipalities because of the flooding and things that are happening in some of our districts. Thank you.
That's inappropriate. I'm sorry. I am doing housekeeping at the same time as your bill. Any other conversation about this bill? No other conversation?
I just want to say something real quickly. I'm going to abstain today because I think I need to have a greater conversation. I want to know how this might affect Banksville. How it might affect the stormwater management within the city of Pittsburgh. I want to have a longer conversation with you about it because we've had a lot of flooding with green infrastructure in our city, and especially in my district. And so, and I was a big supporter of it. So I just want to make sure before I vote that that I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, happy to sit and have a discussion with you.
Any other conversation, Ms. Harris, quickly?
Yeah, I would really
wait, I'm
like.
sorry, I wasn't done. I'm sorry.
I'm
One more
sorry.
thing, and I just think when we talk about plan reviews in city planning, I have said this before. I think we need to have some engineers. I mean, it's great to have planners. It's great to have architects, but we really need some engineers in terms of stormwater management, hillsides, developments, and things that we're seeing more changing with the environment, and the need for those special skills. So I just want to say that I think we need to have a conversation with the administration about making sure we put some of those positions funded in that department. Thank you.
Okay.
You know what? Before we vote on this on Tuesday, I'd like you to have that discussion with Connie on what they're doing. I can let you know what areas in my district. I don't know if Anthony cares. I think he cares too. We could have then a meeting with you before Tuesday. Because I'm going to abstain, I think, until I get those answers.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposers, nay. Next bill, please.
Abstain.
Well, I'm sorry. Two abstentions, sorry.
Not abstaining?
I'll abstain too.
3 abstentions. Still positive recommendation. Next bill, please.
Bill 216, resolution submitting regulations for the implementation and enforcement of the landlord registration ordinance to the Council of the City of Pittsburgh as required by City Code 78106 and recent court order in a related active litigation matter in the Court of Common Pleas of Allegheny County.
All right, before I accept the motion, let me explain this process. This was put on under Judge James's order, and then we then began to act on it. Then Judge James changed his order and said that we could not act on it. So the only motion that I am going to, even though I may have another motion, I'll recognize the only motion we should act on should be the motion to withdraw. But I will entertain, Anthony, if you want to make it.
Yes, I've been in contact with Councilwoman Gross, and I think she had some concerns. I don't think she expected this on the agenda today, for starters. And I guess she wasn't clear on the process. So I know she and, Councilman Kraus had some conversation, but I'm going to go ahead and motion like she asked me to hold for 1 week. Okay. And I'll let you all
So
explain.
I will not entertain the motion to hold because it's an inappropriate motion, because we are on the court order in order to withdraw this motion. Therefore, I will now entertain a motion to withdraw.
So I just want to say, we better make sure we do the same thing when it comes up to gun laws and other things that we're following the court orders and laws.
Motion to withdraw, extremely brief
Just saying
discussion.
that.
Second, Mr. Kraus.
So this, as the councilman explained, under the rental registry of last year, I think 4/4 of 18, there was an edict from Judge James that the council had a role in approving the regulations, the rules and regulations of the rental registry. That has since changed. The judge has issued a new opinion. The council does not have a role in approving the rules and the regulations, which I believe is a relief to council because we haven't acted on it in a year. So we will motion, I've motioned to withdraw the legislation today. The new order from the judge will come to us on Tuesday. It will come before us in the form of a communication, which we will read, receive, and file. I met with Grant last 2 weeks ago. I asked, and he informed me of the situation we were in and the role that the council played and what we needed to do. I met with Councilwoman Gross then. I told her that being under her committee, Grant was interested in meeting with her as well too. I'd be happy to set that up. Grant was on the floor. The councilwoman was not interested at that time. She said she needed a week to get her mind around things. We gave her a week, and if the councilwoman didn't act, I apologize. I can't be responsible for that, but we're under a court order to do this. So we did give the week, and now I just don't see a reason to give another week, and so the motion on the table is to withdraw.
Ms. Harris.
May I see the paperwork that came in?
The order, the court order.
Court order.
That's
Did we get a copy of the court order?
May I?
Yes.
As I explained, that will come to us in the form of a communication on Tuesday that we will read, receive, and file. The process, though, that we're being advised to follow through law, through our parliamentarian, is that this is withdrawn, and then the court order will be presented to us on Tuesday in the form of communication, and we will read, receive, and file.
Yeah, we'll send it to you and print
All
it
right,
out. We'll
so
print it out.
we have a motion to withdraw on the table. It's probably moved and second. All in favor, maybe roll call vote. We'll do the roll call vote because it's a little tenuous.
Mr. Coghill.
No.
Ms. Gross, Mrs. Harris.
I'm going to abstain until I see a court order.
President Kraus.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor.
Aye.
Mrs. Kell-Smith.
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger.
Aye.
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes, 1 no, and 1 abstention.
All right.
And I can't understand, if you have a court order, why we didn't get a copy.
I don't think it was, it wasn't actually presented. Law actually sent me some information on last night that said this is what the judge's ordered, but I don't have a copy of it either. I just
Okay,
have
can
his
you send me
information.
that email?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
We are trying to follow what we think is what we have been advised by law to do. And I do try to respect all council members' wishes to have this conversation and be consistent.
And I would just say, we pick and choose which time we're going to listen to our law department. I'm just going to say that. But I do appreciate that you're in a position that you have to.
Yes, and I try to be consistent.
I didn't hear any of this from our law department, and I didn't see a court order. That's why I'm
That's right.
abstaining. So if I have to call Judge James's office, I will.
So-
Let us know what you find out.
Yeah, legal has a copy of it.
So, next bill, next three bills. You can read the next three bills together. Thank you very much.
Bill
Mr. Carter.
1323, resolution amending Resolution 744. As to transfer fund within a job number shall now read Trinity Temple Church, Homewood Concerned Citizens Council to Operation Better Block, Homewood Development Collaborative, and Veterans Art Home Collaborative to Project Love Coalition and Catholic Charities, Rosalia Center to Catholic Charities. Bill number 1324, resolution amending Resolution 747. As to transfer within the job number, name change shall read as follow: Washington Heights Ecumenical Food Bank, thank you, to St. Mary of the Mount Church, Washington Heights Ecumenical Food Bank. Bill number 1325, resolution amending Resolution 746. Name changes within the mayor's office to now read Veterans Art plus Housing Collaborative to Project Love Coalition and Catholic Charities Rosalia Center to Catholic Charities, and a name change within City Council, Washington Heights Ecumenical Food Bank to St. Mary of the Mount Church, Washington Heights Ecumenical Food Bank. Bill number 1326, ordinance accepting a new.
Not 26,
Oh,
just the first
sorry.
one. These three. These are the mayor's ULO. I need a motion.
Are we under the council?
We are,
Yeah.
co-
Motion to approve.
we are under, Ms. Gross. Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. All right, next three bills can be read together.
Bill 1326, ordinance accepting a new street name, Legacy Way, in the 22nd Ward of the city, as per CPAC. The following street name was approved by CPAC in 2012. The name listed in this ordinance shall be made official in accordance with the Pittsburgh Code Title IV, Public Places and Property, Chapter 420, Uniform Street Naming and Addressing. Bill number 1327, resolution accepting a new street name, Carlo Drive, in the 4th Ward of the city, as per recommendation by the City of Pittsburgh Addressing Committee, CPAC. Bill number 1328, resolution accepting a new street name, Ursuline Drive, in the 8th Ward of the city, as per recommendation by CPAC.
Need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any conversation, no conversation, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. It takes us to the last committee of the day, which is Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. Mr. Connor is the chair.
Bill number 1311, resolution adopting the plan revision to the City of Pittsburgh Official Sewer Facilities Plan for the Pittsburgh Produce Terminal Redevelopment Project. The existing building will be converted from produce warehouse office space into a combination retail, restaurant, entertainment, and office center. The parking lot to the rear will be updated to current standards. The site is located on the north side of Smallman Street between 16th and 21st Street in the 2nd Ward. Bill number
You can do both of them, I
both
think.
of them together?
I think.
Bill number 1331, resolution amending resolution number 191, resolution providing for the execution of a cooperation agreement with the URA for the administration of certain projects and programs and providing for the payment of the cost thereof, not to exceed $3,286,320, by including an additional economic development and housing line item for an amount not to exceed $54,000, and the total cost thereof by the same amount not to exceed $3,340,320. Council District All.
Thank you very much. Need a motion, Mr. Connor.
Motion to approve.
Need a second? Second. Any conversation, no conversation, all those, this, Mrs. Harris.
No, you have no conversation.
No, I have no conversation.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Now
Abstain.
we have not, one abstention,
So noted.
Yeah,
All
till
right.
I talked to Councilwoman Gross, it's her
Both.
district.
which is,
On both?
1311.
all right,
So
fine,
no.
you'll talk to Councilwoman Gross about it, all right? Any other motions or resolutions? I don't have any meeting announcements in front of me. There may be some, but I don't have it in front of me. I will say something just to remind council, it doesn't come up very often, but sort of talk about real quickly the process so that everyone knows how this works. And Mr. Coghill, who is still our youngest member, and explain how this works. Council is an independent body. We are an autonomous body, which means that when we deliberate, the chair, in this case me, on Tuesdays, President Kraus, we then determine how to enforce the rules. Now, if council as a whole does not like the ruling of the chair, it can appeal to the parliamentarian, but council has to appeal to the parliamentarian, not individual members, because we are an autonomous body. That means there is a parliamentarian who watches the law department assigns a lawyer to watch all of our meetings. It is our parliamentarian, and to the extent we ask them for a ruling, they will give us a ruling, but we actually are autonomous, which means we follow our own rules, and we decide ourselves unless we ask them, and we want to overrule the chair as a body, which means 5 members of council. That's in the weeds, but that's kind of how we work. So that I try very hard to keep our rules and protocol and explain them. Sometimes I do make mistakes, but mostly I'm pretty much on target.
I would say you're pretty good, Rev.
So any questions or concerns?
Say, sometimes you're off.
Sometimes I'm off, right. Yeah, right. I know that.
Like today.
Like not today.
Like
but not today, but sometimes like not today. Any other questions and concerns? If not, we need a motion to excuse the absent member, approve the minutes, and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. We are adjourned.